So the Xbox Game Showcase happened not too long ago, yesterday as of the publishing of this video, and the general consensus around the internet seems to be that the Xbox Game Showcase wasn't the home run that it needed to be to really sell us on Xbox Series X. I personally felt like there were some cool announcements here and there that kind of kept me invested in the showcase and left me somewhat pleased here and there, but overall I felt the Halo Infinite showcase was tamer than it should have been, and I wasn't blown away by what I saw. And in general, there should have been just more gameplay showcase instead of the CGI teaser trailers that permeated the showcase, same as last time, though this showcase was better than the last one, but at the same time, again, it wasn't that home run. It didn't make me go, I need to get an Xbox Series X, though it left me curious about some of the upcoming projects. So that's my general take. Now let's dive into some of the more specific aspects of the show. I'm gonna, before getting to Halo Infinite, highlight some of the games that piqued my interest outside of Halo. Avowed from Obsidian seems pretty cool. Their take on Elder Scrolls first-person RPG in the world of Eora, which I believe is the Pillars of Eternity universe, so it's set in that setting. There was the Fable announcement, which I was really happy about. Great way to close the presentation. Though I'm hearing rumors that it might be an MMO, but that's rumors for now. Or at least it has MMO elements. I don't know. I want to hear more about that before getting hyped for this game. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed that this will deliver on a worthwhile Fable experience. And then Stalker 2 was a pleasant surprise. I really did enjoy seeing that game finally officially announced, and the trailer was, I believe, CGI or cinematically shot in-engine footage, so nothing to really showcase gameplay, but knowing that this game is in development and that it exists, it really pleases me greatly. Everwild from Rare looked kind of interesting, though it was cinematically shot in-engine footage that gave us no idea as to what the gameplay really entails. The Medium looked kind of cool, this horror game that features two realities rendered at the same time that you kind of go back and forth between, or that you see at the same time while you're playing the game, and I thought the concept of that was really, really great. Grounded from Obsidian kind of piqued my interest. You play as these kids, and it's this survival game where you're miniaturized kids surviving in a hostile environment where there are bugs all around you, and you gotta kind of fortify yourself by, scouting for resources, enlarged resources in your miniaturized state. And the game itself genuinely looks interesting, and I might actually check it out. Psychonauts 2 looks pretty compelling. I've always been looking forward to that game, and the more I see that game, the more I want to get it. So those are some of the highlights that I noticed. But of course, the big one is Halo Infinite. And a lot of people seem to think that the visuals of Halo Infinite weren't as impressive and certainly didn't convey what Microsoft constantly highlights about the Series X and how it's the most powerful console ever made. Halo Infinite doesn't feel like the game to really highlight that. I think maybe Hellblade 2 will be one to really showcase the capabilities of Xbox Series X from a graphical fidelity standpoint, but they didn't show anything new of that game, which was a bit disappointing. The Xbox Game Showcase, looking at the likes to dislikes ratio, we've got 12,000 likes versus almost 5,000 dislikes. This is the Halo Infinite campaign gameplay premiere. It's the 8-minute long presentation. It has 100,000 likes and 14,000 dislikes on the Halo YouTube channel. That ratio is worse on the official Xbox channel with 31,000 likes and 7.8 thousand dislikes, so more of a mixed reception. More positive than negative, but still mixed. And then the Halo Infinite campaign gameplay trailer, which is a minute long, has a higher ratio with 38,000 likes and 3,000 dislikes. But generally speaking, reception of Halo Infinite hasn't been overwhelmingly positive, and a large part of that has to do with people not being impressed by the visual fidelity of Halo Infinite. So right here is a screenshot from Twitter user Internet Loner that compares Halo Reach with Halo Infinite, and you can see just kind of the attention to detail placed on giving this weapon just some personality and life, whereas on the right here with Halo Infinite, It looks sort of very bland, the way this weapon is modeled and textured. Here's another comparison screenshot showing what Halo looked like in 2007. Right here we have some official screenshots. These are 4K. Looking at these and looking at like Master Chief's character model up close and personal, he definitely looks really good, and I felt like they put a lot of effort into making sure that the main character is modeled properly. And so, you know, there's some screenshots here that do look fine. But then we look at a screenshot like this, where Master Chief looks okay, but you look at the environments and just looking at the detailing in the background, looking at the trees and stuff, and how objects are represented in the distance, there's just a level of fidelity that's lacking here compared to other open world titles of this generation. Here's another screenshot, but in first person. Once again, the environments just lack a certain level of panache and detail and visual flair. The gun itself just looks very stock in how the model lacks detailings and scuff marks and textures. Here's another shot showing the classic Halo vehicle that you can traverse the open world with. It's got this toy-like look to it. I don't know, it doesn't look awful. None of this looks awful per se. This looks okay. This looks, you know, I wouldn't even say ugly or bad. It doesn't look exceptional by modern day standards. I even felt that the animation of the pilot in that intro cutscene, just the way he was animated and the way he looks feels very caricaturish. And the performance, I felt, was a little much, a little overdone. I don't know. It's a cutscene that I wasn't fully sold on. Now, I will say that the gameplay of Halo Infinite does look pretty solid. It does seem to harken back to the good old Halo classic gameplay, combined with some modern design elements and some additions here and there. Yeah, the shooting just looks like it could be a whole lot of fun, and I don't have much complaints on that front. But the level of graphics is something that people do expect to be pushed in a AAA brand new Halo title that is the flagship of Series X, the alleged most powerful console ever made. And on that front, people weren't as impressed as they were hoping to be. People have already made a meme out of this screen grab right here that gives us a close-up of one of the brutes, and you can see how blurry the face looks, how lacking the animation is, how lifeless the facial expression is. Rewinding a little bit, you can hear like the screams from the brute, but the face doesn't really react, and so there's a disconnect. See, right there, the face was just completely still as he was being knocked down, and so you can tell it looks lifeless, and the models just look so ugly up close. Like right here, this is perfect. This is, I think, the best frame to really highlight how last gen the character models in particular look. I mean, this is just yikes. Now, if there's one screenshot that really leaves me deeply concerned about the visual fidelity of this game, it's this one right here. This is an official screenshot released by 343 Industries. And I mean, just looking at the enemy detailing here, it just looks so bad. Just the texturing, the lack of facial animation, the blurriness of the textures, and the details on the surface of the skin and the clothes. Just how blurry the textures are on the rocks back here, and the low poly model of the trees back here. Just this looks awful. I can't believe like this is actually an official screenshot that they thought would like impress people. I think if you zoom out, the game can look pretty, and from an art style standpoint, it does harken back to the Halo 1 days. It's almost like this modernized version of Halo 1 graphics, which might give a lot of fans of the series a sense of nostalgia, but I still feel like the graphics fidelity have to be up to par, especially with Sony kind of really impressing on that front with current-gen PS4 titles and based on what we've seen of upcoming next-gen PS5 titles. This doesn't really hold a candle to any of that, and this is Halo, again, the flagship of Xbox. And this just feels like they really didn't push graphics as far as they could have. This screenshot right here is also pretty disconcerting, a close-up of the brute leader. it looked pretty bad in motion when I saw it in the trailer. Like, looking at this footage, I'm not impressed by the fidelity of this character model at all. I appreciate the facial performance capture that went into this, but I've just seen way more impressive character models in current gen titles. Just looking at this screenshot even, which is supposed to be, you know, a 4K high fidelity screenshot, just there's something lackluster about the model as a whole. I mean, I don't know what to say. This just looks like early current gen or late last gen. You compare Halo Infinite to what PlayStation 5 is able to pull with, you know, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, right here, which already looks really damn good based on what we have seen. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart looks incredible, both in how fast you can teleport from one world to another with that SSD to the kind of fidelity you get out of a game made purely on PlayStation 5, from the character models to the environmental details, and of course Horizon Forbidden West, this being footage allegedly captured in-engine. I mean, from the outset, you can see just how impressive this game's gonna look and really push the boundaries of graphics and art design. Like, seeing all that and then looking at a screenshot like this, it's hard not to feel a little disconcerted. Now, if Halo Infinite turns out to be a whole lot of fun to play, then I think that's ultimately what matters. Graphics, I feel like, will ultimately end up disappointing. But if the game is fun to play, and if they really find a good balance of classic Halo with modern elements, and if the gameplay shines, then I feel like people will generally be happy. And look, I'm not trying to judge Halo Infinite so early on when I haven't played the game really, when I haven't seen everything it has to offer, and when it's still in development. But I do feel like expressing concern over what we have seen so far, and feeling a little disappointed by the graphics not being quite as top-notch as one would hope out of a brand new Halo game, especially with it being the flagship of Xbox. I think that's reasonable. And while this demo is a great teaser of the gameplay, I felt like they could have used maybe a more exciting portion of the game. Just, you know, one set piece to really drive home just how fun and how epic and how cool this game's gonna be. I feel like they showed one of the more kind of low-key sections of the game, and there's plenty of action here, but I feel like it's more of a demonstration of the shooting mechanics rather than showing us some of the cool things we can expect out of the game's core story and the campaign. And it can be something from early in the game, something early on that doesn't spoil too much. 8 minutes feels too short for how much they advertised and marketed this event as the big Halo reveal. I feel like they didn't show enough to really blow us away, though, you know, they're going to do a number of showcases before the consoles launch, so maybe we'll see a more substantial part of the game down the line that will impress us more. Weirdly enough, Halo Infinite was, I felt, one of the least compelling aspects of this presentation. I was more compelled by the possibilities of Avowed, the new Obsidian RPG, or the new Fable game, or Stalker 2. Like, that's what really kept me excited throughout this presentation more than anything. And even then, those trailers were CGI, so I was still kind of disappointed by those reveals. The only game we saw real gameplay of was Halo Infinite, and it was like 8 minutes long. A good chunk of that, like the intro cutscene. And so I appreciated the fact that they actually showed us the game, but I felt like they could have done a better job at it. And Halo Infinite as a game is looking like it appeals to the nostalgia of Halo fans, but doesn't really heighten the graphics enough. And the gameplay segment they showed didn't really sell me on the game quite yet. So overall, the Xbox Game Showcase, better than the last one, but that's not saying much. Overall, it was just meh. Enough cool announcements where I'm like, oh crap, I actually perked up a couple times. But also, generally, I felt this wasn't, again, the home run that it needed to be to sell us on Series X. The Xbox Game Showcase really was riding on the Halo Infinite gameplay reveal being mind-blowing. That, I think, is what was going to carry the showcase. Unfortunately, with the Halo Infinite gameplay reveal being less impressive than I expected it to be, it didn't look awful. Again, I'm not ruling the game out. I'm just saying the presentation by itself wasn't the level of hype and excitement and wow that I felt this needed to be. And so that kind of brought down the whole presentation. So I don't know, I need to see more of Halo Infinite, and I really hope Microsoft does a better job of showing this game off and gives us a longer presentation, or gives us snippets of a more exciting segment of the game. And hopefully they'll bolster the graphics before the game's release, though I fear that given this game's coming out in holiday of 2020, given how close it is to launch just a couple months away, that this is overall about the level of fidelity we can expect. Maybe they'll tweak things here and there, but I don't know how much more they can bolster the graphics this close to launch. But yeah, Halo Infinite I felt was one of the more underwhelming elements, and I felt like some of the announcements at the Xbox Game Showcase, some of the world premieres and stuff like that, that stuff was actually more exciting, and I felt like some of the games I saw did seem pretty cool. And some of the upcoming games for Xbox will certainly keep my eyes peeled. Just not enough in general was shown from a gameplay standpoint that blew me away to sell me on Series X being the next-gen console to get. So that's my take, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on what you saw of the Xbox Game Showcase, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.